Oh my dear God, do I have a lot to say about this chapter. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So, RWBY Volume 7, Chapter 6 is out to the public, and oh, there is so much to say about this chapter. So, this chapter starts off with the whole riot being taken care of, which, let's be real, they haven't even been in Mantle long enough to really care. I mean, realistically, did anybody really care about how this riot was going to turn out? Because I didn't, because there's just not enough time to even invest into caring into Mantle yet. I mean, there hasn't been enough investment on developing the whole area like there was with Beacon, so it didn't really matter to me. But you do get to see the protagonists. They're all training. They're all trying to get stronger and better. And they finally start to touch on the evolution of semblances again. I mean, what's it been like? I don't know, since Volume 3? I mean, seriously, it's been so long that they should have actually touched upon this subject that they did not touch upon until just now, finally, again. Took them forever. I mean, Jean, his semblance isn't evolving, more so he's learning how to use it, so it's more like a level up than it is evolution for his semblance. But, we'll see how that turns out to develop. But if I had a theory on how that's going to be, he's probably going to learn how to extend it like the one Aesop's member can with his semblance. So, not going to be really too surprised to see something like that happen. Then, of course, they touch upon Ruby's semblance, which this is supposed to be the evolution to her semblance, and of course they finally bring up, oh, well, you can do that, and she's like, oh, yeah, I guess, as if she's never been able to do this before. But we have seen this before. It's not like this is the first time, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, realistically. I mean, we've seen Ruby do it all the way back in Volume 4. I mean, if you look at the Volume 4 trailer, she uses her semblance when she's fighting some of the Grimm, and I don't know how this is actually a surprise to her or anyone for that matter, because she's always been able to do that. I mean, maybe so Oscar, because, Oscar hasn't seen it, but like everybody else knew this was possible. I don't know how they have finally just touched up upon this, but that's just a personal opinion of mine. So while she's also training, we see Lyren, and Lyren is meditating. Now, considering that his semblance is able to allow him to basically just suppress his own emotions, we're starting to see something else kind of go on here. Now, if I had to say what it might be for Lyren, this is probably going to be maybe enhancement of its senses, but there's a lot really to go into that, but I think it might be his senses being enhanced, but, he did detect something. But of course, he was taken down by the Aesops as well as everybody else in the beginning of Volume 7, so I don't know. We'll just have to see where his semblance goes. But we'll just see. So Ironwood gives them the whole, hey, you all are off tonight, so go have a good time. It's going to be great because you've been doing so much work lately. Let's just give you some praise and reward you with time off. So everybody is just going to go ahead, have their time off, do their own things, like Jean and Oscar going to the movies, as well as Weiss deciding to go with them. And then, of course, Blake and Yang, which the scene could not have been more forced yet again. Just, I'm going to get into that moment in just a bit. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, very forced. And literally, Weiss's face here is my reaction to that scene. And I can't blame Weiss for wanting to go to the movies because, yeah, I would just take any option at that point to just get out of there. But then, of course, you have Ruby, Nora, and Rin going to, the election party. Oh, God, this plot line of the election is just terrible. It's just awful. And it's so forced. It's so awful. Ugh. We'll get into that in a moment. So Robin Hill is basically just trying to celebrate because she thinks she's already won. And then Meryl and Penny are also there, which of course Robin doesn't want the Aesop's there, and she doesn't want Penny there. But Meryl basically just comes around to state that, hey, you could be arrested for illegal actions. Of course, Robin tries to defend the fact that, oh no, everything I've done is completely legal. I don't understand why Clover did not just arrest her last chapter, considering she threatened official huntsmen. You would think that over something like that, that would be a bad crime, like a real bad crime to get thrown in jail over. But nope, apparently not. Just, hey, she can just go ahead and threaten anybody. She's running for the council chair, so who cares about that, right? Why throw her in jail? But lurking around, being mysterious, is Tyrion, and he is ready to go into action with Watts' plan. And then, of course, the lights shut off, and you see that Watts is starting to hack everything. He is under control here, and he is also rigging the election without them knowing. And here's something I'm going to say about this entire thing right here. Okay, so while the lights are off, they have Penny, right? Okay, so Penny is there, and she was obviously meant to protect Robin Hill and the citizens there because she is the protector of Mantle. And it so happens she has night vision now, so she is able to see everything in the dark. Okay, so you have Tyrion, who is going around slaughtering other individuals. You have RWBY, who is sitting there as if a train is coming at her 250 miles per hour. You then have Penny, who figures out that, oh, Tyrion is the one who is slaughtering everybody. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take care of that little problem. And while Penny's getting ready to engage Tyrion, the next thing you know, he's there, and at the snap of the fingers, he is immediately gone because Watts had hacked Penny's vision so that she can't see him anymore, that he is just completely gone. So Penny is then distraught, not sure what to do. And then she realizes, oh, well, I have to go protect Robin Hill because this is who the target is. This is who they're coming after. And when all the lights come on, that's when you notice something's amiss. And what is array here? Oh, that's right. Penny is up on the stage being framed. Now, here are some problems with this entire issue because while you see Penny, she's up there, she's been framed. Also, Jacques won the election, and which is something I'm going to get to in a bit too. But with Penny being framed, there is no blood on any of her blades at all whatsoever. And the thing of it is, you have all of these people basically just pointing at Penny like, oh, it was her. She's right up there on stage, so she must have been the one that had been doing this. She's the one who had been slaughtering everybody because why not? It's her. Yeah. There's no other person that could have possibly done this. It's all Atlas's fault. Let's blame Atlas. And let's blame Penny because she's the one up on stage, even though she has no blood on her blades whatsoever, proving anything, standing right there while Robin is on the floor looking like she's terrified that something could happen to her. And, of course, because all this is going on, well, Robin Hill immediately comes to the conclusion that Penny is standing right there. People are all massacred on the floor, so it must have been her. That Atlas must be after Robin Hill because she's running for the chair on the council. But that's the thing. Like I said, with no blood on Penny's blades, how in the world could they just immediately come to the conclusion that it was Penny? Another thing, if you look at all the bodies, they all have blood coming from them. Therefore, you would think that blood would be on Penny's blades had she been the one to do it. But everybody just comes to the conclusion that, oh, it was Penny. We gotta go ahead and just put the blame on Penny anyways. So, obviously trying to frame Atlas. But here's the thing. How come Watts didn't just hack Penny? If he can hack her night vision, then why not just hack Penny and actually have her do the deed? And why was Tyrion even there if he could just hack Penny's night vision? I mean, this makes absolutely no sense. So, if he really wanted to frame Penny, then actually hack her and then use her in that way. I don't see why Tyrion had to realistically even be there. It makes literally no sense to me. But hey, let's look at a retcon that has resurfaced yet again. I mean, it surfaced back up in Volume 5 with Blake vs. Ilya, and it's resurfaced again. How did Marrow and how did the Lamb Girl, how did they not see in the dark? It was established back in Volume 1 that Faunus could have night vision. So you mean to tell me that conveniently enough, Tyrion could have night vision, but the other Faunus, which is Marrow and this Lamb Girl, they can't have any night vision for some reason? This is very inconsistent. It seems like it's nothing more than being convenient for the plot. Also, Marrow, Why didn't you do Zebaldo? What happened here to your semblance? If all this attacking was going on, why couldn't he have just seen things for one? Secondly, with his semblance, you would think that he would have been able to just stop everybody from moving, and this issue wouldn't have happened. There are so many issues here that doesn't make any sense. Not only that, but, Ren and Nora, what were they doing? During this entire time, of course, when it comes to Ren and Nora, I'm sure many of you were wanting me to talk about this because this happened, which, I'll say this about Ren and Nora. When it comes to their characters, I really enjoy both of them, but there are some issues I have with the scene of their kiss because, to me, this scene in itself is just rushed. I mean, it just feels so rushed, it feels so forced. And I just find so many issues with this scene, especially with the way that this volume has handled it. And, you would kind of already think that they would have already been established as a thing, but when it comes to Rooster Teeth, they're kind of bad at establishing characters being together, whether they are or not. I mean, back at the end of Volume 4, if you go back to that time, you would have imagined that after the events of the Nukulave and all of that, and when they were flying on the airship, you would have imagined that that scene right there would have been enough to tell you that they are essentially a thing at this point. And the reason why I say that, I mean, of course, the kiss establishes it, unless it's just one of those moments that they just decide they're never going to talk about ever again. But the thing of it is, with this scene in itself back then, this really made you come to believe that, oh, well, it looks like Bren and Nora are a thing, or, yeah, they're going to be a thing. I mean, I think everybody kind of realized that. But one of my biggest issues when it comes to Ren and Nora is the fact that, well, after Volume 4, they really have just kind of been background characters. They have really been very irrelevant. And, well, sadly enough, while I like these two characters, they have just been given the shaft. And it's been pretty bad to see that. And what's been going on in this volume, realistically, is that Nora and Ren have really just been kind of acting like their chibi counterparts. I mean, Nora is all over Ren, and Ren just seems to be kind of just distant to the thought of anything, really, which has been kind of strange. Not only that, but it's felt like that they've really just kind of reset his character from who he was back in Volume 4, because, of course, Volume 4 was the backstory. He started to have some issues, and you started to actually see that. But now it seems like, yet again, they just kind of go into this whole weird phase with Ren again, and I don't really understand why Ren has reverted back as a character, because looking at his backstory, looking at Ren's arc, and looking at the issues they had with the Nukulave, the big thing here is that this was developing Ren's character and to help him go forward from what happened in the past, to help him move forward from who he once was. I mean, yes, him and Nora actually remembered what happened. And yes, Ren had issues emotionally over what happened because the Nukulave killed his family, and it makes sense why he had all the hate that he did for the Nukulave and the emotional issues during his arc about Kuroyuri. But the thing of it all is, in the end, this was supposed to be solved once the Nukulave was killed. This was the end to his arc because he had faced his inner demons. He had faced the troubles that had been bothering him all these years. But then it's like the writers just decide, hey, look, we're on a new volume, so let's just go ahead and reset his character back to what it once was, which to me makes no sense. But another thing that really bothered me about this is another big issue that I had, was that Ren and Nora had an argument over Blake and Yang's relationship, and it was like a comparison. How can you really compare that to two people who, I guess you could say, just known each other for 2 years? One was really more interested in the other, I guess, and that was more so later on after one had left, which is a very shallow relationship. It's not developed. I don't understand how they could argue over that, considering that Blake and Yang have not even known each other half as long as Ren and Nora have known each other. That doesn't make any sense to me. The only thing that really brought them together, if you think about it, was Adam's character. I mean, that's the only thing that really brought these two together. Because before Adam, they had their own interactions with their own issues, but individually, not together. Blake's menagerie arc was just her and son. Yang going through the issues with her mother, that was her own conflict. But you don't see them go through their own arcs and issues together. They just ruin the potential of Adam's character just to bring these two together. That's essentially what they did, and the relationship between Blake and Yang is very shallow. And it could have been developed a lot better. I mean, the only times we know of Yang actually having issues with Blake being gone was at the end of Volume 3, and then during Volume 5 when she talks to Weiss. I mean, this is about the only times we know about her really having issues with Blake being gone. And, of course, now with them really kind of pushing the whole dancing thing, I mean, we just kind of see Blake and Yang really get pushed, and it's just very forced. It's not well developed, and I don't know why Ren and Nora as characters would even try to compare that relationship when they've had better chemistry than Blake and Yang have, because one thing RWBY is bad at is romance. RWBY has a very big problem when it comes to writing romance because, well, the writers are not very good at writing romance. And, you know, Blake and Yang, it's a good example of bad writing for romance. But going back to volumes 1 through 3, now, the relationship between Nora and Ren is so much more believable because, well, as characters, they work well off of each other. And, you know, not only that, but back then, it's more believable and it doesn't feel very rushed, as opposed to later on volumes, like with this chapter, for example, the kiss just feels rushed. It just feels like a rush scene, and that's really it. I mean, the best relationship RWBY has ever had to this very day is still Arco's. I mean, when it comes down to it, yeah, okay. So, Jean and Pyrrha, they've had some of their cringy moments, some of their cheesy moments in the relationship, but out of any relationship when it comes to RWBY, this is the one that feels real. This is the one that feels the closest to actually being like a real relationship. I mean, you know, you look at the chemistry between these two characters. You actually look at the bond between these two characters and how much it grows from when they met to Pyrrha's death. I mean, you really can tell that this feels like a real relationship in comparison to, you know, Ren and Nora in later volumes and Bumblebee. But the biggest thing I want to bring up is the whole plot of the election. It is nothing more than Rooster Teeth just throwing their politics in here. And it is the worst plot point that Rooster Teeth has ever thrown into RWBY, period. Because they can't get over the 2016 election. You know, they have to just spew their politics, and they have to continuously go Orange Man bad with Jacques as a character. And when you look at it, Robin Hill, like I said, nothing more than a Hillary Clinton knockoff mixed in with Robin Hood. And it's just frustrating to see this be thrown into RWBY because real world politics needs to stay out of fiction. Get it out. Nobody wants it. And I will continue to say this until they stop putting their politics into everything. Get it out of entertainment. This is exactly why entertainment in America is failing, because of these reasons, because of politics being spewed into it. I mean, this is why people are going to anime and manga, because they are sick and tired of politics being in their entertainment. And anime and manga actually tells interesting and creative stories, unlike this political stuff that just isn't interesting and nobody cares about. I mean, who is this made for? But anyways, if I had to give this chapter a rating, it would be a 5 out of 10, because there's so many issues with this chapter. We'll go over the good, and then we'll go over the bad. When it comes to the good, at least there's training going on, because the characters have needed this. They have not trained at all, and this is something that the characters have needed to do. Now, while there was the training, trying to bring up that RWBY semblance had finally evolved, we've known that for several volumes, so it really kind of feels like there wasn't any reason for that to be brought up. So, let's go to the bad, because there's a lot of it. First off, look at romance for RWBY. They are just bad at writing romance. Rooster Teeth has never been very good at it. I mean, like I said, the best romance that RWBY's ever had is Jean and Pyrrha, because it actually felt like how a real relationship actually works. But when it comes to the whole Ren and Nora kiss scene, it just felt so forced. It just didn't feel genuine. It just felt like they forced it just to get it over with and say, okay, they're a thing now. And that's about it. I mean, it just felt so very forced. When it comes to the Faunas have been confirmed since Volume 1 to have night vision. And you mean to tell me that Tyrion, of all characters, just had night vision, and then the Lamb Girl, as well as Marrow, did not have night vision? I mean, That's just inconsistency, and it's just lazy writing because we know all Faunus, not just very few Faunus, all Faunus have night vision. So that was just convenience. But then again, when it comes to Penny, why didn't Watch just hack Penny? Tyrion realistically didn't have a reason to actually be there because Penny could have just been hacked. And then Penny could have clearly slaughtered the people in front of all of them had she just been hacked. Wouldn't have been an issue, and then they could just blame Atlas, and it would have been an easy way just to make Atlas look terrible because, with Penny hacked, they would never have known Watts had done it. So it would have made so much more sense that way. Penny would have had blood literally on her blades, or in other words, on her hands, and then they could say, oh, well, she did it, and then that would be more frightening for her as an experience because she then would have been like, I didn't know, how could I have done this? That would have been a lot more emotionally disturbing for Penny as well as a character had she actually not been in control and then had just been slaughtering somebody because somebody hacked her. That would have been a lot better for her character as well, because then she wouldn't be able to trust herself. That would have been a lot better. Not only that, but politics. Nobody wants this plot in RWBY. Who cares about the 2016 American presidential election? Nobody cares. Why is this even here? It doesn't even matter. And there's no reason for it to even be here. It's just another Orange Man bad scenario that Rooster Teeth's trying to spew. They're just trying to spew their politics, and it's uncreative, and nobody cares about it. I mean, who is it made for? I really ask this question. Who is that plot point made for? It's frustrating, and politics needs to stay out of entertainment. Get it out of entertainment. This is why this chapter is a 5 out of 10 in my opinion. But anyways, I'll be back again on Tuesday. Let me know what you think about this entire chapter down below. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We'd love to have you here. And hit the video with a like if you enjoyed. Share the video if you found this informative or useful. And follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.